They would be young. They might be middle class. They might be doing pretty well and just might need a little guidance. They might need a helping hand. They might need somebody to help them to make decisions as they matriculate through life. What I found was the exact opposite. I found children who looked like me, but outside of looking like me because of skin color, we had nothing in common. Their conditions were deplorable. They struggled to survive day by day. They struggled to eat. They struggled to read. They struggled to learn. The basic necessities they lacked. The only thing that they wanted to do was become invisible. They wanted for the rest of society to leave them alone because they were ashamed. They knew that they could never achieve what we consider to be success. Because of that, I decided that I had to do this in a totally different way. I, at that point in time, became very overwhelmed because my goal in helping people could not be my goal because I alone could not help them. There were not enough financial resources between my husband and I, and there just wasn't enough time. So, was I overwhelmed? Yes. Was I searching for the answer? Yes. Have I found it yet? No. At this point in time, I just needed to continue to look to determine what it was that my husband and I could do to help them. At the time, it felt like it was nothing. These children were screaming out to us to help them. At one point, 2 weeks into mentoring one little girl, her mother offered to me, please keep her. I said to her, no, I can't keep her. You have to keep her. But I'll come back next week. I just wanted to solve their problem. But the problem with solving their problem was I didn't know what their problem was. Yes, they struggled. Yes, they were in deplorable conditions. But I needed to understand how they got there. How did they get to this point? And how had society overlooked them? But I did need to solve their problem, or so I thought. The children that I found were caged in by generational misunderstandings. Parents who had never graduated high school, grandparents who had never graduated high school, fathers who were not present, mothers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers who had never really worked. These were things that I had no experience in because this was not what I knew. Though I came from a single-parent home, my mother always worked. Though she was not educated, she always pushed for us to further our education. One day, while sitting in a nail salon getting a pedicure, I took out a tablet and began to write. I felt like I had determined what it was that I could do to help these children. After writing and writing and writing during this pedicure, what manifested was a manuscript for a children's book. What I found in the children's books that I looked into was that the reason why the children that I dealt with didn't like to read was because most of the books were not reflective of the issues that they were facing. What I did was looked at these books, looked at the issues that they were having, and put a face to their issues. From that, this book was born. This book deals with a little black girl who goes to school and is told that she can't be what she desires to be because of her gender. No, it doesn't match exactly what these children were going through, but this was a little black girl who succeeded despite. These are the titles of other books that were written out during that nail salon visit. These are not all of the titles, but they deal with things like death, incarceration, separation, abuse. These are the books that I desire to be able to equip these children with. The issue is self-publishing is not cheap. Money does not grow on trees. And the children that need the books can't afford to buy them. But I can't afford to give them away. One day, after a very rough day, my husband walked in and he handed me this book. And the book was very interesting. I loved the book. It was very inspiring. And I began to ask myself, if I were to have my dream year, what would I do? I would create books that help children to identify with where they are, but show them where they could be. These starter stories would allow children to then be able to have conversations with their parents, with their teachers, with their mentors, so that they could then talk about the issues that they're facing because they see them represented in a book. These stories will allow for true conversations to take place about things that are really happening in the lives of those children that we have determined to be unreachable. I want children to learn not only about their situations, but the situations of those that are around them. Oftentimes what I find is that the children are picked on because another child doesn't understand what they're going through. If you're able to give them a book that starts a conversation, that helps them to have a different perspective, the learning does take place. My dream year is to write these books, to give these books out to these children, and to begin to change the world one child at a time. Thank you.